the first week of May is down. Guys, what's up? I'm going to do another weekly recap video here, share some lessons that I gained this last week on leadership, business. And before I came down here, I sat there and I thought, like, man, don't waste these guys' time. Do not waste your time. You know, I think there's a lot of people on the internet that just waste your time. There's a lot of people all over the place that waste each other's time. And time is something that none of us get back. So on the drive down here, I was thinking, like, yeah, I'm going to do this weekly recap. How can I make it the best for you guys so that you get something out of it and it's not just, you know, some bullshit that's on the internet. I wanted to put out a video this week that actually elevates your life, you know, and helps you live a higher quality life. I was interviewed on a podcast yesterday. The guys were asking me about my military service. We were talking about Iraq. I was there at 20 and 21 years old, and I had a lot of time to reflect about life at 20 years old, man. Typically, people only reflect about life when they have a near-death experience or they get to a certain age, like midlife crisis, 50 years old. Fortunately, at 20 years old, 19 years old, 21 years old, in that range, I was thinking a lot about life. And so what I wanted to do, like, your life is going to be full of adversity, right? You're going to have peaks, you're going to have valleys. But if I can give you some lessons from, you know, what I'm going through personally, my hope is that I can give these to you and it can increase your quality of life. Okay? Think about this, guys. If you could have better relationships, if you could have more fun, if you could make more money, if you could be a more effective leader, like people wanted to actually follow you, would your life experience not be better? And wouldn't it be better if you didn't have to go through so many mistakes to get to that high quality life? Like for myself, I've had to learn a ton about relationships, leadership, life, money through failure. You know, I never had somebody that sat me down and walked me through those higher levels, like those lessons, and helped me get to the higher levels of life. You know, my parents did an outstanding job, don't get me wrong, but they live in a small town in Northern California, and I'm out here being an entrepreneur. So this is this is unknown territory for a guy like me. I was a mountain boy and Army Ranger. So guys, this last week, that's the goal of this video right here. Is I'm gonna give you some lessons on life, leadership, business that'll help elevate your quality of life. This will be a very good use of your time. And my hope is that when you use these, you'll implement something from them to make your life better, all right? So, first thing is last week was a week of basically just like getting it done. You know, I don't know about you guys, but you ever have one of those weeks where you look around to your left and your right and it feels like everybody's kind of just doing their own thing and you're left on your own? Well, that was me this last week. And that's the nature of the beast, right? Like, we don't always need somebody right there by our side. Sometimes we have to have these seasons where we're by ourselves and alone. I've had plenty of them. I've had years like that where I was by myself, you know? Some of my best work on me was during that time of being alone and by myself. So this last week, I did MMA training, obviously, still on the grind for that. I went against like one of the top guys in the gym. Had a hell of a match against him, doing some wrestling, some grappling. And I mean, he balled me up, but he gave me a nice little compliment afterwards and told me that he thought I could grapple. And that meant a lot coming from him. I had mentorship drama. So a handful of my mentors are kind of like going at it right now. And I've had to sit back and kind of figure out if I'm going to pick a side or if I'm just going to watch them, if I'm going to not pick any side and just kind of walk away from them all. And I'm also kind of like analyzing and reviewing their behaviors to figure out if I agree with how they're behaving is people that are leading me. And I had several podcast interviews this last week. People are interviewing me on their podcasts where I had to tell my story, and that brings a whole nother level of like anxiety and nervousness and shit. And then I had some turnover in my relationships, okay? And I'm still going through those. But it was a week of basically seeing people in my life, seeing their weaknesses, seeing my weaknesses, and really just kind of analyzing how I'm living life as I'm building a business that I love, as I'm trying to experience life to its fullest and just get everything done, you know? So the lessons that I got this last week, I got some on team building and leadership, business, and relationships. And this is what I want to give to you guys. I was pushing my staff like really hard, you know, just like that guy in the gym that was pushing me. And this is the thing. So I went into the gym. I was training MMA. I go in there and we're doing basically this round robin training. If you guys have never trained MMA, it is brutal. It is like some of the toughest training you'll ever do in your life. And so we end up going right into live rolls, like 5-10 minute warm up, and we go right into it, no breaks. And we do 3 minutes with one opponent, and then we change positions and we do 3 minutes again, no breaks, rotate opponents, and do that for basically a full hour. So a full hour of live grappling against the wall and on the ground. Well, I'm getting smoked, you know, because everybody in there is way better than me. But then one of the other guys, like one of the top guys, he's kind of getting his training routine back, right? And he's like trying to get himself going. So instead of going with another top guy, he comes over to me. He's like, hey man, I'm trying to get my lungs back and get back in the grind of things. You want to go with me? Meanwhile, I'm completely fucking dead because these guys, like I said, they all outbeat me. And I like that. I like a challenge. I like being the small fish in a big pond. You know, I do that everywhere I go. So I go up against him, and in these moments, I'm fighting him, right? And I'm like, you know, going for submissions. He's going for submissions. And I keep having these little split moments of wanting to fucking quit, right? Everybody goes through that. You go through that in business. You go through it in life. You get so fatigued and tired that you just want to fucking stop. You want to tap. And every time in those little moments, I basically like got harder, right? I leaned in. I said, I'm not gonna. This was like, in my mind, it was like life was beating me up, right? I'm going against this top athlete. He's balling me up. And I'm like going against him. And every time I start feeling fatigued, like I want to just quit, I tell myself, make him earn it. Make life earn the win. And so, make the opponent earn the win. And so I was getting my butt kicked. I kept telling myself, make him earn it. And I told myself that I wanted to walk away from that match with a reputation that this guy knows that when things got difficult, I got better. And that little mindset did wonders, right? Because every time I started wanting to give up, tap in, whatever, I got tougher when things got tough. And that went on for the full hour. I went with him a couple of times in that hour. And afterwards, we all finish up. We're all, you know, congratulating each other on the rounds, because kind of how you do in MMA. You roll hard, and then afterwards, after it's all done, you go and thank your partner, because without them, there's no you. And so you train, and I shake his hand, and he's like, bro, you can grapple. And he was impressed by my work ethic. He was impressed by how hard I pushed. He was impressed by how much I did not let up when we rolled. And that's the message, man. Like, all of us in life need to not let up when shit gets hard, regardless of what's going on. That's one of the biggest lessons that I learned this week, is that, like, when things get tough, decide what type of reputation you want after the time is up. How do you want to walk away from that hard time? What's the reputation that you want after the hard time is over? Okay? So this whole last week was tough, and some other things that I learned is that I was pushing my team really, really hard, kind of like that guy was at the gym. He was pushing me. And when you push people, you're going to get a different effect from them. Some people are going to get defensive. All people are going to experience the pressure differently. I had staff members and subordinates of mine that got better. I had I got one staff member that lost 15 pounds this last month from the pressure that we're putting on everybody to be in top shape and live our program. I got another guy that he's being much more direct. He's not being passive. His leadership has elevated from the pressure that I put on him. He's being more disciplined. He's waking up at 3 a.m., 4 a.m., doing a morning routine, and the pressure is forging him into a man and not a boy. And then I had another one that I've put a lot of pressure, another staff member, I put a lot of pressure on. This is somebody that's very close to me. And the pressure that I put on them, I kind of pushed them a little bit far. I kept going. And they started feeling that burnout, that fatigue. And they never quit, but I noticed that the morale started dropping down. Okay, and this is the leadership lesson for all you guys. You have to have sensor acuity. When you're training and leading others, you have to pay attention to fucking how they're responding to the pressure you're putting at them. That doesn't mean you have to let up if they're not handling it well. It just means you need to be aware of how they're handling it. Okay? It's not a leader's job to be liked. Okay? I've seen this on social media a lot. A lot of these guys that are in the coaching space, they fucking will coach you and make you feel good about where you're at, knowing that you want to get better. Why would I, as your coach, make you feel good about where you're at? No, I'm your coach because my job is to make you realize where your potential is and where you can go. So that was another lesson, is that some people out there, coaches included, I'm really hoping that the mic's not too bad right now, but some people out there want to be coddled, right? And your job as a leader is not to coddle people. Your job as a leader is to challenge people and cause them to grow. The leader that seeks approval with their clients and their teams are not leaders. They're only validating their ego and position. Okay, so leaders that choose to be liked, they want to be liked and they want your approval. They're not actually leading you. They're manipulating you, and they're praising, they're trying to feel good about what the work that they're doing. They want that validation from you. So they coddle you, they cater to your feelings. I'm not here to cater to your feelings. I'm here to make you better. So pay attention to who's leading you and whether they're enabling the way you feel, if they're enabling lazy behavior, if they're enabling complacency, and ask yourself if they're really leading you to higher levels of performance. All right, the last thing here that I have is on relationships. So relationships has been a big thing in my life this last year. I've stretched my relationships, I've grown relationships, and I've learned a lot about relationships in this last year, guys. And I'll tell you some things to be mindful of. I'll tell you, be wary of a man that doesn't have any long-lasting relationships. Okay? Be cautious of man who only has long-lasting relationships. So there's a duality here. A guy that's good to have in your life, he's going to have a mix of long-lasting relationships and some newer relationships. But a guy that has neither, he doesn't have any long-lasting ones and he doesn't have any new ones, what does that say about him? What does it say about a man who constantly has men and other platonic relationships rotating through his life, like the multiple marriages that he's been through? What does it say about a man who has nobody? Now, some of us, that's been us. We've been that person that's gone through relationship after relationship after relationship, whether platonic or romantic. But when you're building relationships with other men, one of the things that I've picked up on over the years is that you want to pay attention to their current relationships. Do they have new relationships that are stretching them? Are they around other men that are better than them? Or they surround themselves by men that are less than them? Do they constantly surround themselves by other men that make them feel good about the position that they're in? Because what does that say about them? If they're only surrounded by men that are not as successful as them, then that means they don't want anybody to be more successful than them because it makes them feel too insecure. And at the same time, if a guy has only long-lasting relationships, that means he's never grown and improved. A man that's has relationships from 10, 20, 30 years ago, but his life continues to stay the same, well, that's a guy that's not really improving. He's being complacent. So you need to be mindful of the relationships you're building and ask yourself, are these the men the type of men that I want to be around. Do they have new relationships, and do they have some old ones? The last thing that I'll say here is that one thing that I learned this last week, guys, is that, you know, your mentors are not perfect. The people you idolize are not perfect. And I know that's something that we all know. But don't be surprised when one of them disappoints you, okay? I might disappoint you guys. I might do something that's not what you thought I would do. I've disappointed plenty of people in my life. But I'll tell you this, I just want to level expectations with you, because if you accept that not everybody's going to be perfect, when your mentors fuck up, when your mentors are being a little bit dramatic, when they're having outbursts, I think that you'll be a little bit easier on judging them, and you'll give them some grace. So that's the message, guys. Those are the lessons I learned in business and life this last week that'll elevate your life. I got to get going before they go and give me a fucking parking ticket. I chanced it. I'm going to take the ticket because this video, giving it to you guys and being right here in this spot and doing it quick, was more important to me than the ticket. I'm not perfect, but I love you guys. Hey, if you like this video and you want me to do more weekly recaps, tell me down below what type of videos you guys would like to see from me in the future. Conquer all.